All right, welcome back. Now, the storm which ripped through the party primaries of the All Progressives Congress, APC, is far from over, even though it appears the intensity is coming down. The party is still struggling to convince some of its members to stay with it and has already lost 2 lawmakers in the House of Representatives in just 1 month. The lawmakers are part of 70 APC lawmakers who filed a petition against the result of the primary elections they lost. Now, 36 other members of the lower chamber have, as a matter of fact, rumored to be planning to leave the party. No movement has yet happened, though. The party has also been faced with rumors that some governors are also planning to leave. The governors of Ogun, Imo, and Zamfara states have actually expressed their displeasure over the conduct of governorship primaries in their respective states, while the governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, has also publicly backed calls for the removal of Adams Oshiomhole as the party's national chairman. Imo State Governor Rocha Sokorocha has also gone public in his criticism of Oshiomhole. Just take a listen now to the latest coming from the Imo State Governor.
From my understanding from Mr. President, there's no such instruction for Oshiomhole to do anything illegal or create any sign of injustice. And so Oshiomhole is on his own in this whole thing. There's no presidency support for him to refuse candidates who won election and give wrong candidates who didn't win election. So this is the matter, and I will simply say it's not with the consent of the presidency, he's on his own. And I also requested that Oshiomhole must learn to obey, respect the rule of law.
Now, despite all of this, the APC chairman says he is confident all the issues will be resolved. He has, however, made it clear he will not bow to pressure to please any party member, insisting he is working for the overall best interest of the party.
Now, in the case of Ogun State, I will talk slowly so that you don't miss any of the points. Governor Ibikule Amosu, like any other governor, where we have governors, and leaders where we don't have governors, went back in accordance with the resolution of the National Executive Council to convey a meeting of the State Executive Council as directed by the National Executive Council. And those meetings were meant to include not just the State Executive Council. The NEC, in its wisdom, said it should also include critical stakeholders. At the meeting, and this is no secret, I expect that some of your media houses will have video clips of what transpired at that meeting, because it wasn't a closed-door meeting. It was an open meeting. Governor Amosu, in his wisdom, decided to introduce a third element, which didn't feature in the resolutions of the National Executive Council. He announced that Ogun State was going to adopt consensus, and he proceeded to define what, in his view, constitutes consensus, and having defined it to mean the pronouncement by the governor, he went on to announce what, according to him, represent the consensus candidate. He announced one, I believe Akindele or someone, Akinlade. I said that Akinlade will be the next governor. He is the consensus governor. He proceeded to announce another gentleman who he said will be the deputy governor, consensus. He went on to proclaim himself as the next senator, consensus. And he says the current senator in his own senatorial zone, Senator Teju Osho, will step aside so that he, Ibikule Amosu, at the end of his tenure as governor, will proceed to the Senate. According to him, this is his own consensus. He went on to also announce that the second senator, also from Ogun State, will step aside and another gentleman will come in place of that senator. And according to him, this pronouncement is a consensus. Now, when he was done with this unilateral pronouncement, exactly the manner that an emperor will do to his subject in a feudal society, The people of Ogun State who were in that meeting instantly rejected the decision, the unilateral imposition by Governor Amosu. And they took advantage of the fact that they are aware that we are in a democracy. They all have copies of the APC constitution. Nothing in that constitution empowers a governor to decree who will be the next governor or decree who will be the next senator in the manner with which Amosu did it. And so they all in unison rejected Amosu's one-man imposition. Governor Amosu, unable to recognize that in a democracy, it is a game of numbers, not a game of power. He went on angrily to announce that if they do not accept this imposition, then they should be ready to go for direct primaries. And the people will say yes, they prefer and they are ready to go for direct primaries. Amosu suddenly at the last meeting, Governor Amosu, His Excellency, Governor Amosu, the executive governor of Ogun State, decided that he and his own preferred aspirant will not participate in the primaries, and even try to withdraw the security that was necessary for these people to be able to conduct the primaries and ensure that there was no violence. Fortunately, this panel is headed by a retired commissioner of police who is familiar with security issues. And they proceeded to conduct the primaries with Governor Amosu and his preferred candidate opting out of the process, and the rest went on to conduct the primaries. And they submitted the result to us here, and as well, the result sheets, as well as a report, including how talks were unleashed on them, and those who they suspected were behind the use of those talks. This report was considered by the National Working Committee, and we find it to be in total compliance with the guidelines, and the AWC accepted the result of that panel that nominated Prince Abiodun, what's his surname now? Dapo Abiodun, as the duly elected candidate of the All Progressive Congress in the forthcoming governorship election in Ogun State. I also watch on television Governor Rochas Okorocha alleging that I disobey court order and I should obey court order. It's a useful advice, except that he was talking to, how do they say it? To the converted. Rochas Okorocha, Governor Rochas Okorocha, the chairman of Progressive Governors Forum, is a beneficiary of that process. We followed those due process to rescue him, because in this country, memories tend to fade very fast. The congresses conducted by my predecessor completely swept Governor Okorocha out of the system, from ward to local government and to the state. But he raised issues of fairness, of abuse of the process. NWC reflected on it, and I am happy that we find courage to review what was wrongly done, and we subsequently conducted another election, which has now given him teeth to bite and lips to smile, and I'm happy for him. What I am not able to do for Governor Okorocha is to assist him with the instrument of APC, even as that would border on abuse of power on my side, assuming I have such powers, to help him to create Rochas Okorocha's political dynasty in Imo State, in which Rochas would be the APC senatorial candidate, and Rochas' son-in-law, Uche Nwosu, you all seem to know the name, would be the APC candidate. I do not have the power to help him to create a political dynasty in Imo State. I am convinced And this is where many of my friend governors tend not to understand me. If there is conflict between the known interests of the great people of Imo State who had reposed confidence in us by voting us to power as they did in 2015, I will resist every pressure, particularly an unlawful pressure on my part to assist to undermine the wishes of the good people of Imo State, at this stage, the wishes of APC members in Imo State who do not want a political dynasty by the way in which they have voted. We conducted the first governorship congress, governorship primaries, that was headed by Mr. Gulak. NWC has met. We have reviewed the report of the Gulak committee, and NWC has upheld the result of the Gulak committee because we found that it was in substantial compliance with the guidelines guiding the conduct of gubernatorial primaries that it was mandated to do. And we have upheld it, and we have done the needful by also ensuring that we submit the name of the winner, Senator Hope Uzodimma, as the APC candidate for Imo State. If Governor Rocha chooses to relocate to the villa and use the ground of the villa to try to intimidate me to create a dynasty, I will, even on one leg, but powered by truth and conscience, uphold the best interests of APC members and indeed of APC people in Imo State.
Before all that, President Muhammadu Buhari met with some aggrieved members of the party. At the meeting, Buhari appealed to the aggrieved aspirants not to leave the party after they failed to win in their respective primary elections. The president also asked them to be patient, remain with the party, and work for its success during the 2019 election. While not everybody is still pleased with the party, and now being joined in the studio by Ayodele Adeluola, a former member of the party who has now joined the Accord Party and of course is a candidate for the Mushin Federal House of Representatives Constituency 2. Thank you very much, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, you are not part of those that the president appealed to not to leave, or if he did, you just chose to leave.
Yeah, I think it's the best thing to do. It's common sense approach and it's idiot proof. The best thing is to leave, because if the rules of engagement is not being adhered to, then what's the point? In
your case, what exactly happened? You were running for the House of Representatives. You were supposed to take part in the primary elections in APC. You lost or something? You
see, what happened started from 2015 when I contested for the State House of Assembly. And unfortunately, I did not win. Under the platform of the APC. Unfortunately, I did not win, but I stayed with the party because there was hope for ordinary party members. Because it was in 2015 that the solid foundation of institution was set in place, i.e., democratically elected candidates using the primary as a medium. People were allowed to vote for the candidates of their choice. And like I said, I didn't win, and I stayed in the party, and I continued to work for the party.
So what happened this time?
So what happened started from the fiasco of Senator Tokunbo Afikweyomi, primary held at Teslim Balogun. That was the beginning of the dismantling of the APC in Lagos State.
Which primary now?
That was the chairman. That was in 2017. 2016, 17
for chairmanship.
For the chairmanship. Yeah. Because
you contested?
I did not contest because I've always wanted to be a legislator. And that's been my interest. That's what I've been groomed to do.
So you just didn't find that process satisfactory?
That process was a fiasco, was a daylight rape of democracy.
No, but you would expect that, especially for people have always said, look, with local government elections, I'm talking about local government chairmanship elections now, don't expect it to go too well. Even the election itself doesn't go well, not to talk about the party primary.
But we must continue to improve. And that's what it's all about. And that's the beauty of democracy. If what we started in 2015, whereby people were freely encouraged, enabled to vote for the candidate of their choice using the system we have within the party, were allowed to take place unhindered. I just cannot see why that should not be advanced.
So you decided to leave the party in 2017 because...
No, just 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you left 2 weeks ago?
Just 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so you didn't leave in 2017?
No, I didn't.
Even when you were not satisfied with the process, you stayed back?
Because I believe the process will be improved upon.
So what happened and why did you
Then
leave?
what happened was when the LCDA and the local government chairman primary thing were held at Teslim Balogun, it was a fiasco. Results were announced before the primary. There's no way any right-thinking person will support that. Because
but you were not an aspirant.
I wasn't an aspirant, but I had people that ran at that time.
That you were supporting.
Yeah, I was supporting, of course, as a party member. It's all about.
But even after that, you stayed back.
Even after that, I stayed back. But I started to express grave concerns at the direction of the party, and I strongly started the one man, one vote campaign forum that everybody should be allowed to vote. Basically, condemnation, outright condemnation of imposition because of its adverse effect on the electorate and the ordinary people of our states.
But with what we saw during the primaries, I mean, you look at the APC primaries across most of the states, especially in states where direct primaries were done. Would you call that imposition?
No,
we could see people go out to vote, queue behind the candidate of their choice.
You see, the question you need to ask is, why do we have faction in Lagos State? What was responsible for the faction springing up throughout the federation? Is it one, because our rules of engagement were not adhered to, or is it because people just wanted to cause mayhem? Of course, the answer is rules of engagement were not adhered to. And that's what led to the Fuad Oki faction. Basically saying there was no primary. It was imposition. And there's no way somebody like me will want to support imposition. Because it's just dangerous. It's bad. That's it. And that's why we say, when I was there, the party had been divided from top to bottom. And not only in Lagos State.
But you now left.
And still,
but
I
stayed. You did not, okay,
believe it, because we had, as at my last count.
So at what point now did you leave and why?
At the point I left, even though I was creating awareness to how our primary should be conducted, i.e., as enshrined in our rules of engagement, direct or indirect, or through consensus. Any of those, if adhered to, in good spirit, as defined, shouldn't bring about imposition. But what we had was on the day of the primary, there was an instruction, all the legislators must be returned.
On the day of the primary for this?
For this 2018, all legislators, federal and states, must be returned.
But not all of them are returning now.
Not all of them returned, but more than 90% were returned. That's
and for the constituency you were going for, the lawmaker represented.
Yeah, the two lawmakers were returned.
So that basically shut you out.
That basically shut the system against ordinary people or ordinary party members. And what do?
But do you know, I mean, you could have been in this position as well. Because if you were, let's just say if you were elected a lawmaker back in 2015, this could have as well have applied to you. I mean, there's a chance, I'm just asking, there is also a chance that the party might have asked whoever was going to run for your position to step down. I mean, because the understanding is it's a common practice in your party, the APC, even though you no longer belong there.
That still negates the rule.
And you would not have opposed it at that time.
No, that still negates the rule. It's all about being fair and creating an enabling environment.
Because the reason I'm asking this is, I mean, we see this all the time. It's common everywhere anyway.
But it's bad.
You say, okay, this lawmaker has done one term, we want him to come back. And we see that. And in most cases, these lawmakers go out of their way to, they make it very clear that they want to come back. And I'm saying, if you were in their position, you would not have complained.
No, you see, it's not about me. And it's not about those people. It's about us. What we are saying is, however you want to dress it, you cannot enforce illegality.
But the good thing is, at least there are alternative platforms, and you've gone to an alternative platform.
That's the beauty of democracy. Because, I mean, we all work hard to build and to bring this party into governance.
You left the APC not quite long ago. You just said some 2 weeks ago. But you look at the crisis the party is dealing with now, fallout from the primaries. Why do you think there's so much interest and, so much a problem with the primaries? Is it because the stakes are higher?
No, it's
because
not.
in the past you wouldn't see that when APC was not in power.
No, you see, it's not about the stake really. It's about, are we doing the right thing? Because if we are not, then we're not going to have institutions. Like I said, what we did in 2015 was the creation of an institution that will ensure credible candidates, popular candidates, will emerge at primaries. You see, we have three ways of emergence: direct, indirect, and through consensus. Where we have consensus, fine.
How did you emerge as a candidate of the Accord Party?
Good. You see, that
because
is...
You were in the AP, you left the APC just 2 weeks ago, so you would expect that the party would have done their primaries. There probably were some other people who were gunning for this position that the position...
You see, the faction we have, in Lagos State did not start 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I'm just asking about the Accord Party now. How did you emerge as the candidate of the Accord Party for motion to federal constituency?
Good. The Accord Party has been led by its manifesto and its objectives, and I have been keeping a very close eye on the Accord Party. Of course, we knew right from the moment that rascals were allowed to hijack our party in Lagos State that it was going to be a dead end.
No, what I'm asking
and
is...
then the process was looking at the other options
available. And we're talking about this other option
has taken over...
Yeah, you're right.
8 months.
Yes, and we're talking about this option now, and I'm asking, how did you emerge as the candidate of the Accord Party? How did you emerge? Was there an election? Did you contest with other aspirants and you eventually won? Or the ticket was just given to you because you came from the APC?
No, the ticket was not just given before I came. I've had a good working relationship with Accord spanning over 8 months. Over 8 months.
So the ticket was just there for you to pick. There was nobody contested against you. No. Nobody was asked to step down.
If you look at Accord, if you look at INEC pasting, my name is not even on it. So there's somebody there.
Somebody's name is there.
There's somebody there.
Okay.
So my name is not even on it. So it's not even to say I am the candidate. No. There's a named candidate because they've held their primaries. But if you look at the rules of engagement with INEC, there is still room for things to happen. So subject to being a consensus.
So okay, the hope is that there will be substitution.
I'm hoping. It's not over.
The reason I'm asking this is just because, you begin to get the impression that, look, it's not different. It's not different anywhere. It's the same thing you see in the APC is what you see in Accord, the same thing you see everywhere. Because if you have someone's name there now, would it be democratic, for instance, to tell that person to step down and then the ticket will be given to you?
No, it's not about asking somebody to step down.
No, of course.
It's about looking at the rules and working within the confinement.
But at least INEC has been given a name, and so it would not be also democratic. But I understand you.
The point now is this. I've just told you, my name is not even on the
but you're very hopeful that your name would be there and you're working towards it.
If there can be a consensus, if there can be an understanding, that's what we're saying.
You see, and that's the point. If there can be an understanding, if there can
be a
consensus.
Quite different from
you can't have complete consensus because this is the point. The same people who were returned in the APC, there was some kind of consensus for them to come back, but not total consensus because you can't.
The consensus we're referring to will be within the aspirants, under the auspices of the leaders, within the aspirants. If you have 10 people aspiring for an office, and then the 10 of them should say sit down and have a discussion who is best able to go.
Wow.
If they are able to present a candidate,
let's just hope
that can then be the consensus.
Let's hope the process
so
goes
let us leave their candidacy for a while, and let's look at.
Thank you. We just have to end the discussion here. Thank you for coming on the program, and let's hope your name eventually makes it to the list, and that you contest.
I hope so too.
And we'll just wish you the best.
And that definitely will not be in position, but if there is, it will be a consensus.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, too many problems in the country. Let's wait and see how all of this will be resolved, especially with the national minimum wage, with the labor unions insisting they're going on strike 6th of November. The industrial court saying they shouldn't do that. We'll wait and see if the labor unions would choose to disobey the court order and embark on that strike. But somehow there has to be some kind of resolution to all this trouble. So wait and see what happens. Now, that's said on the program, but if you want to watch it again, you can do so by going to our various social media platforms. You can also watch the program on our website. That's www.tv360nigeria.com. Do go to that website now to get updates on things happening around the country and, of course, across the world. I'm Deji, and I'll see you next week.